Port authorities are bracing for a major impact. According to Port of Seattle Commissioner Ryan Culkins, there could be a 40% drop in vessels in container traffic the next few weeks. Well, Donald Trump just called empty US ports a good thing to what we are seeing in the United States. This is the Port of Los Angeles. Again, this is in real time. You can go look on Vessel Tracker right now. Everything that's a cargo ship is docked and nothing is coming in and out. A 40% cargo plunge in just 1 week. That's what slammed the Port of Long Beach, one of America's busiest hubs. Los Angeles wasn't far behind with a 25% drop in throughput this month. And Seattle, it hit rock bottom. 0 container ships docked. This isn't a scene from a war or a pandemic. This is America's port system in May 2025. The cause, not a collapse in demand, but a deliberate standstill. Volatile trade policies and crushing tariffs forced businesses nationwide to slam the brakes on their supply chains, opting to wait out the storm. Now, with a sudden 90-day tariff reprieve, that freeze is thawing fast. A tsunami of delayed cargo is barreling toward US ports. The question isn't if the system will crack, but how badly it'll break. When tariffs spiked, businesses hit pause, ports scaled back, cranes idled, labor hours were slashed, and terminal schedules thinned out. No one could plan. Not workers, not carriers, not retailers. Before the chaos of congestion, there was an eerie silence. Not the silence of disaster, but a calculated hush from a supply chain and self-imposed lockdown. For 6 weeks, a brutal 145% tariff on Chinese imports left US businesses with an impossible choice. Absorb crippling costs or halt shipments entirely. Most chose to stop. Retailers, wholesalers, and logistics firms froze operations, not for lack of demand, but because moving goods became financial suicide. Charles Vanderstein, president of Mir North America, reported a 30 to 40% drop in cargo volumes from China to the US. That's not a dip, it's a free fall. In response, shipping companies yanked 25% of their capacity from these routes, redirecting vessels to stabler markets. Entire supply chains were stuck in time. Some importers got crafty. Businesses rerouted goods to Canada, parking containers across the border to wait out the tariffs. Others slashed product lines, shipping only high-margin items to survive. These weren't long-term plans. They were desperate moves in a policy war where the rules shift without warning. The ports bore the brunt of this freeze. Empty terminals and idle cranes became the new normal, but with the tariff reprieve, that's all about to change. A flood of cargo is coming, and America's ports are about to face a stress test like never before. Ports across the country are reeling. Terminal staffing slashed, crane schedules dialed back, workers sent home or reassigned. For weeks, the maritime trade industry hit the brakes. No timeline, no certainty, just the grim reality that doing nothing was safer than importing at a loss. But now the tide's turning, and that cautious pause is starting to look like a costly misstep. On May 14th, everything changed. The US and China announced a surprise de-escalation. Tariffs on Chinese goods dropped to 30%. Still high, but a massive relief compared to recent rates. It's a 90-day window, a fleeting chance for businesses to act. For retailers, it was like a starter pistol. They didn't just see a green light, they saw a yellow one blinking furiously, warning that the window could slam shut. The reaction was instant. Retailers started front-loading inventory like never before, racing to place orders and stuff containers with everything from back-to-school supplies to holiday merchandise and electronics. This wasn't normal demand. It was pent-up panic unleashed by a sudden opportunity. Orders that had been on hold during the tariff spike were now green-lit, produced en masse, and loaded onto ships. But here's the catch. Global shipping isn't Amazon Prime. It takes 3 to 4 weeks for cargo to sail from China to the West Coast and 4 to 6 weeks to hit the East. That means the wave of goods won't crash until late June, peaking through July, right when ports are still shaking off weeks of scaled-back operations. The real danger, the mismatch between urgency and readiness. Businesses are moving at warp speed, but the ports and shipping infrastructure they depend on, they're stuck in low gear. Carriers are scrambling to ramp up capacity, but restarting vessel rotations, rehiring staff, and getting port equipment and custom systems back online takes time. Unlike e-commerce, the physical supply chain doesn't pivot on a dime, and it sure doesn't recover smoothly. And then there's the bigger question looming over all this. What happens if that 90-day window slams shut without a new deal? If tariffs spike again, this mad dash could turn into a logistical nightmare. Ports that slowed down to survive are now being asked to sprint back to full speed. The machines are cold, the workforce is scattered, and a massive wave of cargo is already on the horizon. Buckle up. This is about to get messy. If tariffs spike back to 145%, goods arriving mid-shipment in August could instantly turn into financial burdens. That's the risky bet companies are making, wagering not just on global markets, but on political timing. America's logistics system isn't built for chaos. It thrives on predictability. Ports, shipping lines, warehouses, and last-mile carriers all rely on steady volumes, reliable schedules, and smooth handoffs. When everything clicks, goods flow effortlessly across oceans, borders, and states. But that rhythm's been shattered twice. First, a 6-week import freeze hit as businesses pulled back under the weight of sky-high tariffs. Then came a frantic flood, with companies racing to import as much as possible during a shaky 90-day window of lower duties. This whiplash has turned the supply chain into a high-stakes game of reaction, one it's not equipped to play. Shipping giants like Maersk, which slashed 25% of vessel capacity on US-China routes during the slowdown, are now scrambling to bring those ships back. But it's not as simple as flipping a switch. Redeploying capacity means rejigging global vessel rotations, reassigning crews, and securing port berthing slots, all while avoiding bottlenecks elsewhere. Port operators, meanwhile, are bracing for a volume surge without knowing its size or duration. This front-loading behavior, businesses rushing to import before policy shifts, creates sharp volume spikes that overwhelm the system. Terminal space vanishes, railyards clog, trucking capacity dries up. The chaos ripples through every link in the supply chain. Even efforts to adapt come with trade-offs. Some carriers are swapping in bigger ships, which need deeper BS, more cranes, and longer unloading times, straining already stretched ports. Others are speeding up sailing schedules, pushing ships to move faster and turn around quicker, which risks delays in other regions. This isn't sustainable. The supply chain was built to handle pressure gradually, not in sudden bursts. If this surge collides with renewed policy uncertainty, delayed customs, or labour shortages, it won't just slow things down. It could grind the system to a halt. At the heart of this mess isn't tariffs or freight rates, it's uncertainty. A 30% tariff is steep, but businesses can plan for it. What they can't plan for is a policy landscape that flips in weeks with no clear direction or warning. That's what's breaking the system. One day, a 145% tariff slams supply chains to a halt. The next, a 90-day reprieve sparks a mad rush. Then what? Nobody knows. This rollercoaster turns global trade into a high-stakes casino. Importers are ordering not because it's smart, but because they're terrified of harsher terms tomorrow. Retailers are racing goods across oceans, clueless about what tariffs will hit when those containers dock. Some will luck out, others will lose big. Big corporations can eat the cost of this chaos, barely. Small businesses, they're frozen. They can't hedge risks like the giants. They can't swallow sudden profit hits. And they definitely can't overhaul supply chains overnight. The result, supply chains aren't strategic anymore. They're reactive, scrambling to keep up. Planning is dead, delays are normal, Panic is routine. From ports to truckers to store shelves, everyone's just bracing for the next shock. What was once a finely tuned logistics network built for efficiency is now a system fighting to survive. Behind every jammed port and late truck is a real person. Longshore workers can't count on steady shifts. Truckers sit in endless lines, unpaid for their time. Small importers lie awake, agonizing over whether to bet on a shipment when tariffs could spike mid-transit. This isn't just logistical chaos, it's emotional and financial, and it's deeply human. Supply chains aren't just systems, they're people, and right now they're running blind. What's happening at America's ports isn't a one-time glitch, it's a flashing red warning. Modern supply chains can't function when they're forced to sprint, stop, and sprint again with zero notice. The ships are ready, the ports have capacity, the tools are there, but none of it works if policy whiplash makes every shipment a gamble. This isn't just about tariffs, it's about the chaos they unleash when they're slapped on without warning or logic. The real cost isn't just higher prices, it's the death of predictability, the paralysis of planning, and the erosion of trust across global trade. If America wants to compete, we need to treat supply chains like critical infrastructure, not bargaining chips in short-term deals. What's piling up at our ports isn't just cargo, it's the bill for months of uncertainty, and it's time we start paying attention,